I'm going to share the screen and put up our agenda. Which is very short. Welcome, call to order, introductions, approval of the agenda, public comments, and then this one item. So welcome. I'm calling the meeting to order. I'm Laura Myers. I am the chair/co-chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee for United Neighborhoods Neighborhood Council. John?
I am John Arnold. I am the other co-chair of the UNNC, live in Jefferson Park.
Right, and I live in Angeles Vista. And Brittany, since you're the only other person here, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, yes. I'm Brittany. I've been living in the area for about 3 years now, in the University Park area. I'm currently a public health and urban planning student, and I also work for a local organization.
Great.
So UNNC only appoints its chairs to the committees, and other than that, those who are in attendance at a committee meeting are considered members of the committee for the duration of the meeting, and therefore may make motions, may obviously fully participate in the discussion, make motions, and vote. Our actions here are recommendations to the governing board, and it is the governing board who actually has the authority to make final decisions. So that said, I need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
And a second.
Go for it, Brittany.
My first time. I'll second.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Here we go. Aye. So the next item is public comments on anything not on the agenda.
Yes, I would actually like to share a public comment. So like I said, I work for a local organization in the area, Redeemer Community Partnership. I'm one of the community organizers there. And we wanted to share that we are hosting a virtual town hall at the end of this month and wanted to invite UNNC members and just neighbors of the area, primarily to discuss and just like share information about the Murphy drill site. The event is Tuesday, May 25th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. I do have a little bit.ly link that I can put into the chat where you can like get more information and RSVP. I'll put my email as well. And I was just curious if there might be an opportunity to kind of share this more widely through UNNC.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, you know, the way our communications work, well, first of all, it can be shared tomorrow night at the governing board meeting in public comments. Okay. If you want to endure not one, but two presentations that we hope will be over by 7 o'clock, but may not be. But when I say endure, actually one is from the Neighborhood Council Sustainability Alliance on electric cars and other things. And the other is about Asian American Heritage Month and the heritage here in our community. So endure is really the wrong description, but we may not make it to start promptly at 7 o'clock after all. John Lizzie is giving the presentation, so I'm feeling good that no one will be mad at me, right? So anyway, so then we call the meeting to order and we have public comments. So that'd be one thing. And then the other thing is that I do send out, not as often as I was doing when everyone was staying safer at home, but I do send out news and updates, you know, e-blast. So in other words, our e-blasts every once in a while just have stuff in them, and they're not a single event or an agenda, or, you know, what we've obviously been having to do a lot of is get your vaccine, here's where we have it, or please get your ballot, we need you to vote, right? I mean, two important things, but yeah, I can get the word out. Now, I don't think we can social media it out.
That's all right. Yeah, I think an email would be great.
Mostly because I don't get to tell the people who do the social media what to do. You know, we've kind of come to a compromise that the president gets to control the message on the MailChimp e-blast. And the communications team gets to control the messages on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and whatever other platforms they're using. So if you want to chat the basic stuff here, if you want to come tomorrow, that'd be great. And what kind of town, who's speaking at this town hall?
Yeah, so it will be Richard Parks. He'll give a little overview. Angela Johnson from Earth Justice. I believe Reverend Chase from Holman Methodist will also be there. And then recently USC released a study on lung capacity for those who live near oil drilling sites. And so Bhavna, who works at OCC, I believe will also be there to speak. Those are confirmed yeses. There could be changes, but that's the lineup for now.
All right. Mm-hmm. So
thank you.
Yeah, if you could share, did you already share that?
I will do that right now.
Okay. And then since there's nobody else here, John and I will be able to read that. And
yeah.
But I can reshare it to everyone. Oh, you were able to share to everyone. Oh, that's interesting. My settings have changed again because you're not blocked from sharing. I mean, chatting.
Yeah, I think you both are hosts, which is why I might be able to.
Oh, well, it's fine. I mean, I'm not trying to block you anyway.
All good.
Okay, great. Okay, so the meat of our I'm putting the screen back up again. The meat of this meeting is this building a safer Los Angeles. So I'm going to first put back up the content within our agenda, and then I'm going to bring up the proposed community impact statement. And John, I didn't really edit it.
Yep.
I just printed it. So we talked about this 2 weeks ago, but essentially the LA City Council recently voted to have city staff from the fire department, from building and safety, and from the planning department to have staff members explore a proposal which would curtail the use of wood frame construction for larger developments. And hi, Donna.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. And
hello, everybody.
And basically change the definition of what it would be to be in Fire District 1, which is a high fire hazard area, to have that apply to all projects that are either 150,000 square feet of floor area or just 100,000 square feet of floor area if the building would be more than 30 feet in height, which
is everything.
Yeah. Yes. And or to projects in neighborhoods with a population density of more than 5,000 residents per square mile, which I'm going to guess half of UNNC has that density, the piece north of the freeway.
I think that's all of us.
Well, you think it's even Jefferson Park with the R1 zone?
I do.
All right.
I could do some math real quick, but I'm guessing it's very padded. What?
Yeah. Well, right. So the proposal is backed by an entity called Build with Strength, and its financial backing is from the National Ready Mixed Concrete Association. And so right there, it does show us who's in favor of this. There have been certainly some housing advocates who are arguing that the goals of this proposal are completely at odds with the city's effort to increase its supply of housing. And especially would it impact the city's ability to produce new affordable housing. And in addition, just to the inability to use wood frame construction, this more stringent code might prevent some projects from taking advantage of the incentives that have been granted under the transit-oriented communities guidelines. So Abundant Housing LA, strange bedfellow with affordable housing advocates, I think. But anyway, they argue that this measure would worsen the city's housing and homelessness crises and would also undermine our climate change mitigation goals. So we're kind of pushing this through quickly, only because the departments were asked to report back within 30 days, which, would be any day now. So I'm taking that down and going to share instead. the proposed community impact statement. So I'm going, let's see, can you guys see that? And is it
slow to, yes, we can.
okay? So and I'm going to see on the Zoom, it's at 100%. So if that's a good size, I can just.
That works for me.
Okay. So essentially for Brittany and Donna, the way neighborhood councils can let the city council know its position, and even if they wish to attend the hearing, have a couple of minutes designated to speak, so they don't necessarily have to wait in line with the public speakers, is to file a community impact statement. And for sure, that's listed on the council agenda. So you have to say you're for it, you're opposed to it, or you would be for it if it were amended. So in this case, we're opposed, or at least we're proposing that we're opposed. So that what we're showing you now that we should vote on is the same thing that will be on the governing board tomorrow night, though we can edit it tonight and then edit it tomorrow night. But this full proposed community impact statement has been printed on the governing board agenda for the whole world to see. So, so our proposal, based on 2 weeks ago discussion, was that we would oppose this motion to expand the requirements to utilize concrete and steel construction and curtail the use of wood construction throughout the city, including for new housing projects. And then, John, I'm going to let you take over because you wrote this.
So how I understand it is Fire District 1 currently is downtown mostly. That's like 80% of the area of Fire District 1. Then there's little spots of Fire District 1 in Hollywood and just here and there. And the proposal is to expand that, which is a high fire risk, Chicago burned in 1890, 860, whatever type of, they want cities to burn up. So they created this Fire District 1 and looking to expand this. I have not seen the map of what that means. But what they're basically wanting to do is create a high risk fire zone throughout the city, unknown about the extents, and it's unknown about the how far that will reach, and whether they'll include hilly areas or wildfire areas, but they're using. I could go through all the reasons that I think it should be opposed, because I think I work in the housing industry, and wood construction is the backbone of what is possible. Concrete construction is expensive. Anyway, it's all listed down below. So let me just go through each point.
Right. Well, I was going to say also as a preamble, it's not written here, but I realize because I work some of the time with a realtor, so I help them with I help prepare all the required documents for folks when they're buying or selling a house. And there's a new document that is mandatory as of the beginning of this year for sellers to issue as a disclosure, which is called home hardening, for home fire hardening. And the first thing a seller has to mark is whether or not essentially it's in Fire District 1, a high hazard. So by and large, the owners of houses for sale here in the central city just mark no, and then there's nothing more for them to do. But if you had to mark yes, which they would if this fire district gets expanded, then they're required to do things to their house that might cost money before they are allowed to sell it. So there's perhaps a law of unintended consequence beyond just the construction methods. So anyway.
So I guess I'll just summarize.
Just go through this one at a time, yeah.
So number one is wood construction is less expensive. It's very common. It's just everywhere across the United States. It is how we build housing. So it's less expensive, more accessible, and accessible to a wider range of developers. I got something cropping up in my window here. There we go. Thank you. And anything that narrows the ability to produce housing is obviously imprudent during a housing crisis. It will make construction and development much more difficult. And so that's the first point. There's nothing wrong with wood construction. Laura, there's a bar blocking my view. I don't know what that is. I see a gray bar.
Can you see it is all good now?
No, it's not, but there we go. Now it's good.
Okay.
Also, number 2, that was unclear about how they're going to redraw Fire District 1. Presumably it will be in hilly areas because they're, quote, prone to wildfires. So that's wealthier areas, which will push housing development outside of wealthy areas into down here in the flats, presumably where Fire District 2 is. And so there's also, which wasn't clear to me, Laura, but I think we should amend section 2. If it's denser areas, it will just push development to other areas of the city.
Well,
And
yeah. Is what
so-
you're trying to say, let me ask you this, instead of that, I mean, is that it would discourage the fair share concept?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna add, I will say may discourage the fair share here. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna make it red so we know what we're doing.
So there's that. So I think the consequences of drawing lines where development can't happen will obviously push development in other places and perhaps less appropriate places, and also might shield people who have a stronger position of NIMBYism to say, you can't build it here, it's a safety hazard. Okay. So number 3, one of the
Wait. Just verify that what I'm doing here is correct. Affordable housing should be distributed throughout the city's neighborhoods.
I would say all
Is that
housing.
right? Does that make sense?
I think it's all housing. I think this will block all housing from certain areas and push it into other areas, whether it's affordable or not.
Multi-family housing. Okay.
And I think the consequences of that are.
Yeah, it's not gonna stop a single family home from being built.
It will not.
Yeah.
The third point is what they say wood construction is unsafe, which is entirely false. Wood construction buildings are universally sprinklered. I've been in the industry for 22 years. I have never built a project that is not sprinklered. Walls are fire rated. They're very safe, and they do not catch fire. Where fires would rage wild are areas like Jefferson Park, where there's lots of air movement, and lots of fragile wooden houses. So it's a bogus argument to say that because it's the structure of its wood, that it more easily burns. That is false. Also, if you go down to the fire department now, and type 5 and type 3 are both wood types of wood construction. If you ask them, how many lethal fires have there been in fully sprinklered modern buildings in the past 30 years, they will scratch their heads and say, well, none, because its sprinklers are effective. Everyone knows that. And also it's bogus to think that concrete construction is not immune to fires, as we all know from the London Tower fire a few years ago that went up in flames. So they're using a lot of scare tactics that wood construction is less safe, and that is bogus. There's also number 4, up in the Pacific Northwest, there are big innovations occurring currently with wood construction to make simple 2x4 or 2x6 construction, which is just sticks that you can buy at Home Depot, make them into more heavy timber, that you can make them into high rises, and they're absolutely safe. And so by limiting the use of wood construction, LA will be disqualifying themselves from partaking in this new technology that is being developed in progressive cities that is more sustainable because wood locks up carbon. The carbon sits in the wood forever until the wood is burned up, which will never happen. And so by doing this, I believe that the concrete industry is seeing wood construction becoming dominant even over concrete construction because it can go taller now. They just changed the building code a year and a half ago to allow for high-rise wood construction with this new technology. So I think they're feeling their feet on the fire. They're feeling their zone threatened, and therefore they're putting out these bogus arguments that wood is bad. So anyway, that's what number 4 is about. And I attached a link there that discusses that because it's kind of a complex concept. Also, number 5, it just, because this is being sponsored by a concrete association, it's like being, let me just read it. The fact that the initiative is to expand Fire District 1 boundaries and restrict wood construction is being sponsored by the concrete industry is deeply suspect and can only provoke cynicism among stakeholders that government and special interests are not working with the interests of its constituents at heart. Using government regulation as an opportunity to advance a particular industry, while undoubtedly common, cannot be tolerated in our city. And to me, it's just bald-faced lobbying.
Right.
So that's that. So number 6, we all know that there are wildfires. We all know climate change. We all know that most of the wildfires take place in communities that are in the woods or in the chaparral. And I think this initiative is cynically playing off of news about wildfires and fears and climate change by conflating wood construction and density with fire risk. And we all know that is not true. And I think, and then the idea that wildfire is increased because of new sprinkler to fire rated construction is simplistic. It's playing off of emotions and not fact. Wildfires race through landscape suburbs on the urban edge, not concrete cities. The city council were truly concerned, this is me, so we can edit this out, this is John Arnold talking because I wrote this. If the city council were truly concerned about lessening fire risk, density construction would be more encouraged in the city, and all new suburban construction, like Porter Ranch, would be banned at the urban fringe adjacent to local forest and chaparral. So
yeah, that bottom part, I may have added it just to have a conclusion, John.
Okay.
I don't remember now.
Yeah, I just ended it because I didn't really know how to end a CIS.
Well, we always end with our final conclusionary statement.
Yep.
So for these, yeah, so that's, anyway.
So basically, I think it's simplistic and it's specious, and it's going to hobble the ability to produce housing. It's going to push housing into places where it isn't necessarily more appropriate, and it just doesn't look good.
Okay, so so like I said, I had not edited it. It's actually too long, but I don't want to bother to edit it. So what would happen is if we vote for this to recommend it in full plus our addition to governing board, and then everybody just says yes and doesn't try to sit in the meeting and edit, that in effect we'll have to summarize this and then send an attachment to the city clerk, which is fine.
You want me to take a whack tomorrow?
We can't, because I've already put it on the agenda. We can take a whack in public in the meeting, but we can't whack it very easily otherwise because of the Brown Act. Because it's had to be published on the agenda. Well, per our UNNC policy. So at the board meeting, I mean, if you want to take a whack, and at the board meeting, if they say, oh, sure, but it would have to have a lot of crossouts in public. Am I saying that right?
Okay.
I'm sorry about the ringing phone. I'm not answering it, but I can't turn it off yet either.
So we can't do that editing here in this meeting?
We couldn't. Well, hang on a second. First of all, because I want to tell you, we would have to whack 2,700 words out of it.
Oh boy.
I'm not words, character. No, it's just as fine to submit and see attached letter. Okay. I think there's so much information, and I mean characters and spaces, but there's a limit just in the portal. If we're just posting it, many neighborhood councils send the attachments, so it's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
So I'd rather just not take the time And obviously I made that decision on Sunday as well, to not take the time,
So,
or
and
Monday, whenever it was.
I can't, concrete construction is attractive.
Huh.
It allows for bigger windows, it allows for all sorts of things. It can go taller. So I'm trying to give a benefit of the doubt why this would be a good thing, and I can't think of a reason how the net benefit would even be close to being a wash or good. So,
All right, so is there, I'm making only one more comment, John, which is 12 minutes in, some practice will be required to have the conversation shorter as well at the board meeting.
So can we, so the thing we present to the board, can it be just these bullet points reduced down with this attached with all the full time?
With the exception of what I did in red, this is all already on the agenda.
Yeah.
So what I can do is send, if we vote it, to, if we're voting a recommendation motion, I can email this out tonight.
Okay.
To everybody. I mean, post it with the correction addition, and then email it and say, please review. Everything else is already in the packet.
Okay.
And we don't need, like I said, we don't need to shorten it, is what I'm trying to say. Simply don't need to shorten it. We just need to vote, have commentary, maybe from Brittany, maybe from Dawn, if anybody has thoughts, and then just vote for it. So, and I'm gonna leave it up on the screen. I'm gonna reduce its size so the whole darn thing is up on the screen, even though we won't be able to read it that way.
I would have been more careful in keeping it short if I knew there was a word limit. I like to write.
The first one I wrote was really long. I just didn't know. Okay. It's sort of completely up on the screen, not completely up. Whoop. Now what just happened?
It didn't change here.
Okay. Well, maybe everybody can read it.
There we go. That's good. Don't touch it.
So you've heard my thoughts. My thoughts are, this is not a good thing, and that it probably has many other unintended consequences that, but one would be that home hardening disclosure that just regular folks selling their single family, their single family home, they have to now would have to now disclose that they are in a, fire district, what is that called? Fire
District 1.
Fire District 1, which is a high risk, and they would be required to do some retrofitting before they sell their house. And some of the people selling their homes would be people in their 70s who wouldn't have the money to do that.
I think that's that's an angle I don't know about, but I think, can we add a number 7, or is that not possible?
Well, if I can unshare the screen, but does anybody need to keep looking at this? Okay, because I pulled up this document. I'm trying to look at it without. I'm trying not to disclose names on a document. If you know what I mean? Just show you the form. Eek. No, that's not going to work. Give me one more moment. Okay, I'm going to share this. This is not, an end all be all, but this is the portion of, this is the new California Association of Realtors form that's not, I can only show you this part because above it and below it have people's names on it, so I don't want to do that. But this one was checked is not in a high or very high fire hazard severity zone, but you see, this would be, John, if I'm not mistaken, if we're moved into fire hazard district 1, right?
Yep.
Then that would be, yeah,
I would
yeah.
agree.
And they're required to complete, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So,
yep,
and it's, yeah, it just seems also specious to the risk of our neighborhood burning because of climate change
right,
is ridiculous.
right.
Yeah.
So because they would have to change, I mean, look at this, single pane or non-temp, anyway, so I'm gonna unshare this. And I don't know what the full impact of that would be. I mean, I'm just kind of like, the only reason it suddenly struck me is I had to create one for another seller today. And checked off dutifully, not in. And so, the rest of that whole section was not gonna matter.
So any public comment, any discussion, any ideas, changes?
I fully agree with what you've written and Laura said about people once they were in, if this were to go through, would have to make changes to the home they live in now.
Yeah.
Just as I would. So, and it looks stupid to be sponsored by the very people
Yeah.
who would benefit the most.
Yeah.
And that's my comment.
Great, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, nothing additional really to add, but echo the sentiment from both of you.
All right. So, John, I think we just need a motion that the Planning and Zoning Committee approve the draft proposed community impact statement with the addition marked in red.
Okay.
And
then we have to adjust it to make it into a CIS, correct?
Okay, well, let me try this in writing.
So what would this be called? Would this be called?
It's a community.
I know, but this document that has the longer version, is that an addendum? Is that a?
No. It is the community impact statement. It's just that the portal has its tech limits.
Got it.
Yeah. So in the portal, one can summarize and then upload a document.
Okay.
Sadly, neither Janie nor I have ever been able to upload a document. So then we actually just contact the city clerk and say, here's the document. Will you please add it? And then they take care of it. Because it's not the only time. Let me just say, it's not the only time. They propose. What I don't have, because I don't have it in front of me, John, do you have the council file number on the agenda in front of you? You can yell it out to me.
Right.
It's on the agenda.
I know, I just have to find the right window because
you do what I do. Close everything down. Here, wait. It's probably just faster for me.
Okay.
I got it. I'm gonna copy and paste it. A proposed draft. The additions in red relative to fair share distribution of housing throughout the city. Moved by?
I'll move that.
Seconded by?
Brittany.
I'll second it.
Okay.
What I'll do, Laura, for tomorrow.
That's the motion. Yeah, go ahead.
For tomorrow, I'll do a verbal synopsis. I'll rewrite it to be quick in 2 minutes to get each point. So I
And
could do that.
perfect. Okay, so motion is posted into the chat. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, just say aye.
I-
Aye,
Aye.
aye. Thank you. No opposition, motion passes. Okay. Yay. So the next item of business is simply follow up to previous cases, ENS, old business. The City Council Planning and Land Use Management Committee yesterday did vote on the proposed fee increases. I did not attend. I mean, as you may know, they attempted to have that meeting 3 times. Apparently, third time was the charm. And the council file does not actually say. I think they rejected the big increases that the CAO had recommended, but all the council file actually says is adopted the planning department report. So that would be a good thing if I'm interpreting it correctly. So can I assume nobody here went to that virtual meeting? Right. So I don't know. I'm going to try and have a better answer for tomorrow night. But this is the thing that involved tripling the historic preservation related fees and 97,000 ding. I mean, I don't know the number, but changing the citywide appeal fees from $89 to $16,097. So, you know, that I think that went down in flames, but I'm not sure. There was universal neighborhood council and public letters against it. So, and we filed a community impact statement. All right, that's my update.
Van Ness project is this close to getting their permit for the revised design. They're running into DWP issues, which we're trying to sort out. DWP is not doing a clearance because they say they need 2 months to review their electrical thing. So that's.
Oh, so it's not they're not saying we don't like it. They're just saying we slow.
And tough luck. So anyway, I'm coaching.
So I also noted that 1808 St. Andrews did submit their CPIO application to build, you know, with but whatever they needed to get through, but to build the 22 units that retain the historic house, 1808 South St. Andrews. I don't know if they overcame yet, John, do you, the building and safety issue with the port cochere, but I keep driving by and what I see is that the original brick columns, I mean, they're so obviously a part of the original, but the port cochere was open, not closed, and that is probably why it's not showing up on things, because it was more like a pergola than a closed garage carport. So my question for you would be, can they keep the pillars in place even if building safety says not to put the wood, whatever, lattice over it and then later just do it? Get their permits and get a field change?
So what's building and safety saying? They're saying the permit.
What building and safety was saying is they can't find a permit that shows that there was this port cochere. And it's not really a port cochere because it's open, and that's why there wouldn't have been a permit. But when one looks at the brick work of the column on the south side of the driveway, it's the same as the brickwork on the other columns. So logically, yeah.
So yeah, we were actually at HPOZ last night. There was a little bump out addition from the period of significance on a bungalow, and building safety had no record of the bump out being built, even though it was probably built in the 30s. And they're saying it doesn't exist, and therefore an addition on the house can't even interact with it because it doesn't exist. It can't.
Yeah, I've had the same problem as a consultant with a friend who owns a house in yet another HPOZ, where the building and safety on the one hand is saying you made alterations to the garage because HPOZ did a code enforcement thing. You should not have altered the garage. And then building and safety, on the other hand, will not give a permit to do what is now authorized by the HPOZ on the garage doors because they say we don't have a record of the garage. It's like, well, but you issued an order, a code enforcement order to get a permit. I mean, it's like, why would you not think maybe your record keeping wasn't perfect? Because it wasn't perfect. They've lost many permits over the years. Anyway, so, okay. Anybody else have any updates or anything else? Okay.
I say I'm gonna go and eat dinner.
Yeah.
Do you think building and safety is gonna start working again in the next 2 weeks? Because like you said, not much is going in there.
We've been able to get permits. We got a permit a few weeks ago for a 64-unit project in Echo Park. So things are moving. It's just challenging. And my staff is finding ways to get things done by just like dropping appointments into people's calendars. Like just drop the appointment, just invite the plan checker through email and their calendar thing pops up and then they go to the meeting. It's like, okay, I got that. So everyone's using the technology to get through, but things are moving. It's just a little bit more opaque than it used to be.
Well, it has been difficult to get inspections.
Yeah.
I mean, it was difficult to get on a historic, again, another historic preservation project. It was difficult to get through plan check, 9 months in the COVID on an expedited one where the fee was paid for expediting the permit. Yay. And now it's been difficult to schedule inspections.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think construction's a different ballgame because it does take in-person site visits.
Thank you.
Right. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, Don, I'm not talking about code enforcement. I'm talking about actual inspections on construction.
I know.
Yeah.
Unless they just don't like you and then they show up.
Well, maybe. All right.
Good night.
Okay, everybody. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Good night.
So, I know. Bye-bye.